I was awarded the Medal of Honor for something that never actually happened. Afghanistan, 2011. I was a specialist with the 101st Airborne, serving as a gunner on a convoy escort mission near Kandahar. We'd been running supplies between forward operating bases for 6 months without major incident. That day changed everything. Our convoy got hit by a complex ambush. RPGs from both sides of the road, small arms fire from everywhere. Complete chaos. Our lead vehicle took a direct hit and flipped into a ditch. I remember the explosion. Remember my vehicle commander, Staff Sergeant Briggs, yelling into the radio for backup. Then another RPG hit us and everything went black. I woke up 3 days later in a field hospital in Germany. My hearing was messed up, couldn't remember anything after that second explosion. The doctor said I had a severe concussion and shrapnel wounds. What they told me next didn't make sense. A major came to my bedside with a stack of papers. Said I'd single-handedly pulled 4 wounded soldiers from burning vehicles while under heavy fire. That I'd provided covering fire that allowed the rest of the convoy to establish a defensive position. That I'd stayed in the fight until medical evacuation arrived, despite being wounded myself. I don't remember any of that, sir, I told him. He smiled. Combat does that sometimes. Your body takes over. 3 soldiers are alive because of you. The other survivors backed up the story. Said they watched me drag people from the wreckage, saw me manning the gun despite bleeding from my head and arm. Even my vehicle commander wrote a detailed account of my actions. But here's what I actually remember. The second explosion, then nothing. Waking up in Germany. 6 months later, I stood in the White House while the president placed the Medal of Honor around my neck. My parents cried. The media called me a hero. Other soldiers saluted me in hallways. I felt like a fraud. 2 years after that ceremony, I ran into Private First Class Dylan Hayes at a veterans event. He'd been in the vehicle behind mine during the ambush. We got to talking, and he mentioned something that made my blood run cold. You know, I always wondered if you remembered pulling me out, he said, because I was barely conscious, but I could swear it wasn't you. What do you mean? The guy who dragged me had a different patch. Different unit entirely. Some combat engineer attached to our convoy. I remember because he kept saying his name was Kevin, telling me to stay awake. I did some digging after that conversation. Took me 8 months to track down the truth. Sergeant Kevin Walsh, a combat engineer, had been riding in an unarmored support vehicle at the back of our convoy. When the ambush hit, he ran forward under fire and started pulling people out. He's the one who dragged 4 soldiers to safety, including me. He took shrapnel to his leg doing it, kept fighting anyway. But here's the thing. Kevin died 2 hours after the attack from internal bleeding. By the time the after-action reports were being written, he was already gone. And I was unconscious in Germany. Staff Sergeant Briggs had been knocked out cold during the attack. When he woke up and saw me being loaded onto a helicopter, wounded but alive, he assumed I was the one who'd done the heroic stuff. Everyone else was too injured or disoriented to correct him. The Medal of Honor citation that hangs on my wall describes actions performed by a man who died before anyone knew his name. I've tried 3 times to get the Army to review the case. Each time, they say the evidence supports the original citation. The witnesses stand by their statements. The official record is clear. They don't want to admit they gave the nation's highest honor to the wrong soldier. I visit Kevin's grave in Ohio every year on the anniversary. His parents know the truth. I've told them everything. They don't blame me, but I blame myself every single day. The Medal of Honor sits in a box in my closet. I can't display it, can't wear it, can't accept the thanks. Because every time someone calls me a hero, I know they're talking about Kevin Walsh, a combat engineer who saved 4 lives and never got to hear his own name spoken with honor.